welcome back to Journals and Dragons. I'm SJ. If you haven't met me yet, then a warm welcome to the nerdy stationery corner of YouTube. Today I've got a couple of random organizational spreads for you, and my group has also started a new campaign, so I have some fresh stuff and an updated character sheet coming down the line. Or if you're here today for the cat interruption content, I've got a lot of that for you today too. She's all over this video as usual because she thought there was a bird outside the window. But putting all of that aside, let's go ahead and get started. So pour yourself a cup of tea with me if that's your jam, or just grab your quill and get settled in, and let's get started. We are starting off with my NPC log. I'm just going to throw a quick border around these pages to make them look nice, and then separate them into 3 columns. Up at the top, I title each column with name, race, and affiliation. The first 2 are given, but the affiliation column I just use to remember how I know this person, or to give me any indicators that may help me remember them later down the line. For example, I have orphan girl, eccentric merchant, a baker, familiar, stuff like that, anything that helps you put that NPC into context. Now you may want to do a couple more of these pages, maybe a total of 4 or 6 depending on how long your campaign is. This fills up much faster than you might think it will, so do keep that in mind. Towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you how I review my notes post-session and extract information from there to fill in this log. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here, show you how I decided to decorate this page. So for these borders, I decided to do some corners with little lines coming out from the very edge, and then decorate them, go back in with a gold gel pen to sort of give them a gilded look. I kind of wanted it to look like, you know, the gold foiled front of a journal. And this also meant that I could be really messy with those lines because I was going to fix it up with that gold pen later. But the idea was to sort of have the reinforced gold edges of a journal type look going here. And you can see this was incredibly interesting to my cat Amaya, who just loves the gold gel pen for some reason. This is a very simple style, a very easy and achievable look. I just think the gold gel pen adds so much flair to the page, and it's really fun look at the end. Here is a closer look at the final product of this page. I've already filled out some of my favorite NPCs from our campaign, like April, the Furbolg Baker. And if you have any favorite NPCs, I'd love to hear about them down below too. Alrighty, on the left, I'm starting my town roster page. Similar format to my last log, I'm putting a simple border around the page to spice things up and breaking the sheet into 3 columns. This time I'm titling them Settlement, Region, and Culture. Basically name, region, and what the city is like. An example I have here for culture is like a fishing town or a military fort, stuff like that. As you can see, I kept this one much shorter just on the left side of the page here because our campaigns tend to get really involved with people in each city, so we take a long time to travel. We don't travel to many places, but if your party kicks miles and takes names, you may want to make this a double spread or more, like I said with the NPC log. On the right side, I've included a spread that I've shown off before, but I felt like it complemented the town roster really well. I call it a roadmap, but in function it's more of a timeline of where we went step by step. I have some really cheesy doodles there to represent the towns, just to give it a more map-like feel, but you can do this quite simply without the doodles. From here, I'm just gonna go in and fancy it up with some nice colors. I put little flower designs on the edges of my border there. That's really easy. You can find quick flower doodles on Pinterest if that interests you, and I just went in with some colors and made it all look nice. I did try to make some major icons stand out. For example, there is a blue bakery, a purple shop in one town that is very important to us, and there were silver sand beaches on the island. So for each of those little doodles, I tried to highlight something specific about that location that would help me remember it, or highlight what was unique about that area that we were in. This next spread is another map-oriented page. Now it's rather lackluster at the moment because we only have one map, which I believe is technically my fault because I think I'm supposed to be in charge of map making, but we're going to set that aside. We're not going to acknowledge it. We're just going to focus on this very easy page. I just went and printed off the map we had and pasted it in. You can absolutely freehand a map if that calls to you, and more power to you if it does, but that just didn't seem like my jam, so I went to the printer and made this super easy. As promised earlier in the video, I'm going to sort of get into my post-session note review routine. My notes are always really messy and hard to read, so I highlight a few key things to sort out whenever I need to reference these notes later on. I start by highlighting the session number and date in green. This just breaks everything into smaller chunks and also gives me a frame of reference time-wise. When I'm taking notes, I try to add a line of space whenever we change location or talk to someone new, which will make this process a little easier, because next I'm going to go in with my blue marker and start picking out all of the major locations that we hit. These are some taverns, shops, island, etc. in this category. Basically anywhere we go, not just different, towns and locations, but specific places within those towns anytime we change scene. Most of these aren't going to go on my town roster because they're not that important, but it's good for me to be able to sort this out quickly if I need to later on. After that, I'm going to go in with this pinky purple type color and start highlighting all of the major NPCs that we met. And this is where I start extracting information and putting it on my character log. I do try to highlight them every time they appear, not just the first time that we meet them. That way, if I'm going over events later on, I have all of the major players. I know where we were, sort of when we were in the campaign, and who all was there. So I go back and enter them the first time we meet them, but I do try to highlight those characters every time it's a new incident of us meeting them. After I have done all this, I usually type up a session summary for the day and send it to the rest of our campaign as well as the DM. That way everybody's on the same page. People can amend things if I've misremembered things or if I wrote them down incorrectly. This gets us all caught up, and if anybody had to miss, it's really easy for them to jump right back in. We're all ready for the next session. And with that done, that'll be it from me today. Thank you guys so much again for joining me. Like and subscribe if you want to stick around in this niche corner of the internet. Especially comment down below, because I would love to hear your own campaign stories, and if there are any spreads that you would like me to take a crack at, let me know down below too. Party on, adventurers, and I'll see you in the next video.